Thanks for listening to GYST.
You're listening to Get Your Shit Together with Adina and Diane, a digestible health and fitness show for women.
Real quick, the content of this podcast is intended for general information only and is not medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Chat with your healthcare provider before making changes. Okay? Okay, cool.
I think they got it. Let's jump right into this week's episode. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of
To pull my boom arm over here. We're taking our pictures before.
She's wearing a black t-shirt. She's tired. But we are ready to rock.
Yeah, little goth girly over there. Did you see my story before we hopped on? Instagram ads often are very good. Like, I have found some really great things I'm excited about. But yesterday, it served me, and if this is your yum, I'm sorry. It's just not for me. Mm-hmm. There were banjos playing in the background, and this woman's in a field in a dress, small print floral dress from her neck down to her ankles, and she's putting on this knit cardigan over it. Very, I thought Oregon Trail, and I was like, we know that the tatas are out, the colors are out. This is not for me. It's for someone.
I did see it. I did think the cardigan was cute. I would have worn it open with like a tank.
Yes, open. Over one of my friends saw the romper that I put on a story. I trained in it. It's usually just a hanging out romper. Granted, it does have a longer inseam. It's by CRZ Yoga, and it has pockets. It has a 6-inch inseam. Any shorter, and the butt is just and the bumping. And my friend was like, "You're gutsy for wearing a romper with straps that thin to do kettlebell swings." I almost swung my bell and my tatas out that romper, but
I even have that, by the way, with the I really like the Athleta. I think they're called the Exhale sports bras.
Yeah, does it have like a crisscross in the back? Yeah, I know what that one.
I mentioned them in my postpartum course when we talk about clothing that is conducive to breathing in the postpartum period. Because,
so around the rib cage, it's not just
it actually
mashing you?
Moves with your breath, which is really nice, especially for postpartum. It helps you to rehab really nicely. But I have them in larges and extra larges because, you know, the postpartum tatas, how they be. And I remember like a few months postpartum, I hadn't switched from the XLs to the Ls yet. And Veronica and I were filming some plateaus for the club and like, bloop, just like...
yeeted it out of there.
Right off the top.
Yeah, it's hard to find good bras. So I'm definitely noting that. I do have one of those, but it was from several years ago, and the boobies have changed.
Yes,
I mean, I sized up, and that's just kind of been my mode. And I think we can't go an episode without a show and tell. But if you're watching, let's make sure nothing's indecent here. You can't really tell, but I've got these Lulu Groove pants, and they are like butter. They're the 32-inch inseam. They go up so high. So the saleswoman there was like, I wore these all through pregnancy and postpartum. I like how high they come up. They don't roll down, but they just feel so soft when like the thought of a waistband cutting into my belly or being underneath it sends me into a spiral. Like,
nope.
We're not doing that, but they're so soft.
The Lulus are another recommendation in my postpartum clothing recommendations. Because here's the thing.
They are worth the hype.
They are. Here's the thing. I have the bike shorts in many sizes and many colors from my experience. And people always say, is there a dupe for the Lulus? Or is there something less expensive that I can get that also is good for breathing and training? And to that I say, no, there isn't. I am not.
Vori's pretty good.
It's not the same. Nothing.
Vori even?
The same. I love Vori, but as far as like bike shorts and leggings that stay up but actually allow you to breathe and are squat proof, you can't beat it. You really can't. I don't buy like a whole bunch. I'm not like a person who my entire wardrobe is Lululemon. I also don't have a lot of expensive clothing. Like I just mostly am in workout clothes because we live by the beach.
Yeah.
But you just can't cheap out on the Lulus if you really want that quality.
Yeah, I've definitely tried dupes in the past where like the seams aren't great. I do like CR's yoga for just hanging around, like if I'm hanging around at home, but I did wear that romper to train in. And I was like, I should have packed a pump cover, you know, pump
just
cover.
in case.
And this is a CRZ yoga top, and so those have been okay for like lower impact days, but yeah, really liking the nice athleisure. So feels like we were just here because we recorded a couple of days ago with our schedule. So it's been interesting, but still some good things have happened since then. You may notice even more colors from me. I did a branding refresh, which it's like arbitrary, but it's like, it's fun. And it's been like 7 years in my business, and I've had my turquoise for a long time, but we're adding some extra flair. So you might notice some fun stickers on story and just playing with that. And I went to a quilt show yesterday with my mother-in-law. So of course, Instagram's like, she likes to quilt, she drinks raw milk. Her approach to politics is Ron Swanson, like, leave me alone. So she must like very traditional garb. Nay, nay. So I was at
To that I
the
say
quilt.
nay.
Yeah, so I was at the quilt show, and if you're in Grand Rapids, I guess this will have already closed or finished after you hear this episode, but they have these quilts from all around the world, and some of them are truly art, and there's some really beautiful ones. There was this lily that someone did on a stationary sewing machine, and it looks like a photo, and even the texture of the petals,
Oh my
like
God,
this
gorgeous.
is, and it was pretty big, but the petals had this texture. So I'm showing the YouTube girlies, oh my gosh. And there was one where she's from Japan, and she did portraits of her grandchildren. She entered last year. And you know how sometimes when people do fiber arts, I think in a good way, like it's not, and I've seen some really bad renditions of portraits where it's like,
yeah. Like Picasso.
should have spent some more time. But look at how beautiful.
So sweet.
Of her grandchildren, and like her grandchild and a golden retriever, and it was just absolutely stunning. So it's really cool to see what people make with their hands. And I found a bag template for a possible diaper bag, and I still intend on splurging on one. So if there's anyone who loves one that meets form and function, and it's not just so ugly or so, I don't know, floral. I found one from Dagny Dover that I think I'm going to get. Again, another thing, it's like, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But I'm like, baby's going to get a lot of gear, and like I would like some gear that's meets form and function if I'm going to be schlepping shit around. So but I also want to make a colorful one, so I found a template.
So cute.
And me and my mother-in-law are going to make something fun and colorful as well.
I used to have cute diaper bags, and I ended up selling them all or giving them to family members.
Yeah.
Because they were just never practical for me. Like I'm not like a suburb girly who like clipped a diaper bag onto a stroller and pushed it around. Like I had a cute one. I had a fawn design one in the city, which like was one of those, like, it's very cute and it's leathery and it's pretty and has all the pockets, but it would just get so heavy and uncomfortable. And I found like an Athleta backpack to be way more functional, like, and way easier to wear on the subway, and like, you know, and
it has to be a backpack for me.
Now it's
no
usually
tote.
that was a backpack, but it just wasn't the same. Like it just, I don't know. And then now it's just like I take a GYST tote or like a STHH tote, and it has my water bottle and like a few diapers and wipes in it. And like
Yes, and I have to see what works for me, but I think in the beginning stages, well, first of all, it's going to be over winter, so we're just going to be hanging out at home.
Yeah.
But I'm looking ahead, aspirational to eventually would like to travel with baby, and so I want something that Neil would wear and something that we could like bring with us. But I also don't need just a ton of things. I also need some hands-free. So I like Dagny Dover's travel stuff in general, so I'm going to try that. But eventually I could see like a crescent bag with just like for a couple hours out, we don't need to take everything with us. So some people who might be further along with their littles, like their littles are a little bit older and need less stuff. I found this brand called City Mouse. It's a small startup woman-owned brand. I saw her through TikTok, and it was like this little crescent, like Baggu style bag, like really small, but it was like wipeable inside. And so it had enough room for like bare essentials, and it just looked like a tiny little sling.
So the only problem with that, which here's the thing, my baby I baby wear all the time. So like I can't be wearing a crossbody, you know? I do need a backpack.
Maybe Ori wears the crossbody.
Right. Cross baby.
That's another thing I've been researching too, is I want to splurge on a carrier that I found that was really beautiful. And as we do, we watch a disgusting amount of videos, and I also like crowdsource from some mom friends, but I would like to wear her, which I don't think that I've said on here. I've done the reveal since last week. I just want to wear her like my little koala. Do koalas carry? Kangaroos, whatever. Yeah, just snugs.
Snugger right in there.
Those are the developments. What's new since like the 3 days since we recorded for you?
Oh my God. I was telling Diane right when we hopped in, I was like, why am I feeling so tired? And then I was like, oh, because like we did this 2 nights ago. Like I can't be up past my bedtime twice in 1 week. This is not working. That's about it. We have been really digging summer. Just like there's been so much ease. I've mentioned this, I think, on a previous episode. Just like hanging around the house with the kids like all day. The boys have like really gotten into it. Like Ori has
fighting.
Yeah, just like they're nutty together now. Like Ori is like trying so hard to be one of the big kids now, and he is just like it's nuts. Like he just runs. Diane's doing Ori's little peace sign. I don't know. We've gotten into this like little cat and mouse with Abe and Ori like chasing each other around the house all afternoon, and like it's so silly and fun. And that's been just really cute. Lots of building magnet tiles, as always. Lots of crafting. So it's been fun. And then we're in like comfort watch mode because I've been working like podcast recordings. I've had a lot of meetings with Veronica because we are working on some big stuff. So it's been just like the quick comfort watches. So
I see it on our outline.
We started Emily in Paris, which Emily and Paris. Donnie was like so adamant that he was not watching it this season. He's like,
it's so bad. Me too. I said I wasn't going to.
He watched the first episode. He's like, no, I'm out. And then I convinced him to watch the second one. He's like, okay, the second one wasn't as bad as the first one. But
wait, wasn't she,
bad.
or am I thinking of Olivia Cooper? What was the Christmas movie that the 3 of us watched together?
Oh, that was so bad. Was that her? No,
another brunette with great eyebrows and petite. But it was also really bad. That's how I feel about Emily Paris.
Yeah, Paris.
Emily Paris, I said this last season, she's such a bad friend.
Terrible
like
friend.
A terrible friend.
Terrible.
And they're still friends with her.
Yeah.
Like, did you finish? I think I might have another episode.
We're 2 episodes in.
Oh, wait. Yeah, and there's 5, and then they make you wait until September because I totally thought I was binging a season on Netflix, as you do.
I feel like it's a bad strategy. I feel like people are going to fall off. Like if they were all there at once, people would be like, all right, I'll finish it. If there's time to like sit with it and realize how bad it is, people are going to bow out.
Or we realize, if you have friends like Emily though, like let them go. It's fun. It's fun to watch. But she's messy. That girl is messy.
She really is.
So I won't spoil it for you.
Yeah. So that, and then if you've been listening to this show for any length of time, you know how we feel about Adam Sandler in this house. So we rewatched Mr. Deeds, which I don't think Donnie and I have ever watched it together. So I definitely haven't seen that movie in a long time. And
Adam,
still love it. I'll tell you that much. I still love it.
That is a comfort watch. You weren't kidding.
Yeah, no, deep. We're in deep. What about you? Books.
We've Alone. We were watching Alone. I put books on Audible. Well, I paused my membership, which you can do once a year for 3 months, because I was like, listen, I got a lot of books and you can only listen to them so fast, right? I'm trying to listen to them on 1.25 instead of like
not feeling as crazy.
3x. Not feeling crazy.
Wait,
but
by the way, I need to tell you this. I just need to interrupt you about this. My nephew, who's like a youth, he's in college right now. And like, he's not a child, he's a youth, like he's in college. And we were talking to him about some shows, like some dramas that we watched when we were in high school. Like, you know how the youths are like catching up on everything because of streaming?
Yeah.
And I forgot what show we were talking about. And he's like, oh my God, yeah, I love that show, but I have to watch it on 1.5 because like, I'm like, you watch shows on 1.5? Like,
I can't imagine.
Just as the showrunner intended it. Like, That seems crazy to me.
I guess I didn't realize that you could do that on a streaming, but
it just feels crazy to me because for me, it's like, I'm never watching a show for like, to find out what happens. You know, it's always like for the experience of watching the show. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine if it was Gilmore Girls that he was watching?
God.
Quickly.
Someone shared go from being mac and cheese to being like a seizure, you know?
Someone, I think it was my old coach Tavari, shared a clip from last week's episode, and he was listening on 1X, and that's what he had screen recorded and put on his story. And I wonder, like, does Apple slow us down? Because it was on 1X, and I was like, I know that we don't talk that slow.
I think you're probably just always used to hearing us on 1.75. What I do notice is when I'm editing, especially, sometimes I'll speed it up if it's a part where I know I don't need to make any edits so that my editing takes less time. And if I go back to a slower speed, it sounds like I'm listening through molasses, you know, like when it's your brain like plays a trick on you.
Spit it out. Yeah. Yeah. So books on Audible, sci-fi. Blake Crouch is an auto-buy author for me, and he has a few shows. I don't think sci-fi is really your thing. I don't know if Donnie watches any of these, but
I could do sci-fi. It has to be really well done. I could do good sci-fi.
Like Apple TV or HBO budgets only.
Yeah.
That's only. So Blake Crouch, Wayward Pines on Hulu wasn't so good. I guess it was on Fox originally. But I did finish that. It was fine. But I just listened to Recursion. Recursion by Blake Crouch on Audible. Great audio. The narrator has to be good. So I have a few more credits to burn, and I might just go through his backlog. We've been watching a little bit of Alone, but as I mentioned in last episode, like someone talking about their waterfall of diarrhea and their sleeping bag wasn't something I wanted to listen to while eating, you know?
Yeah, no.
But on the food front, I've said this, that stone fruit is here for a good time, not a long time. And I'm eating it up as much as I can. The nectarines are really good here right now.
Same.
So I've been loving this combo. Nectarines, heirloom tomatoes, cut up, toss that with a pistachio pesto, and then I tear up some burrata that I put on top. And then I add a bunch of arugula and just mix that up. Oof. And we had that last night with roasted chicken that I just smothered in the last of my ras el hanout from Israel. I had to smother it because I'm sure the spices were a little old by now, but I found it in my cabinet. And that combo, it's kind of like sweet a little bit, you know? It was so good. But love heirloom tomato, burrata, nectarines.
Yum.
So good.
That sounds delish. I have been doing a lot of convenience foods, and maybe there's someone out there that needs to hear this. I have been splurging a little more on pre-prepared like burgers, kebabs, sausages for this season, because I found that like my time is limited, and I found that when I wasn't doing that, I was ending up spending even more money on takeout, and I was like, the math is not mathing. Yeah. So I don't know. Sometimes like when we're doing our meat order and I'll look at the price of like all these pre-prepared kebabs and sausages, like I convince myself like, oh, you know what, I'll just get ground beef.
I'll make it.
I'll make it. But then I just don't have the time that I'd like to have. So it's actually been amazing. I have really I filled my freezer with these really yummy kebabs we've been enjoying from our butcher, and sausages on sausages, all different flavors, and like skewers, chicken skewers, pargiote. What do you call pargiote? Chicken thighs.
How do you say it? Like you're forgetting the English words.
I really am, by the way.
Shut up.
There's some things that like I am forgetting.
How you say
chicken thighs. Chicken thigh kebabs are so delish. But anyways, I've been doing that. The freezer is full. So then at night I just take out a sausage, a kebab, defrosted, beautiful, throw it on a pan, throw it on the grill, and we have so much protein available to us at our disposal. And my kids we've just been eating meat and fruit like you would not believe. I picked them up from camp.
I saw sausage watermelon with no comma in here. I was like, what the fuck is a sausage watermelon?
My kids have been tearing through like 6-ounce burgers and half a watermelon when I pick them up from camp.
Yes. Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we've been stocking sausages as well. I go to our farmer. I'm like, I need 4 packs of jalapeno brats. but also on the pre-made front, like when you're really busy, sometimes you just got to outsource it. And I actually found from Costco, it's a bag of chicken sausages. I don't typically like chicken sausage, but the flavor on these are pretty good. And they're tiny. So I'll make like 4 or 5 of them and add like 3 to 4 eggs.
Yum.
But I like having variety in texture and different meats.
Yeah. I feel like someone needed to hear that though. Like if you're not doing the pre-made stuff because you're like, it's more expensive, and then you find yourself doing takeout or not eating because you don't have food prepared, like sometimes you gotta go for the pre-made patties. Yeah.
And I put those on my story, and several parents were like, oh my gosh, we love those. And it's a big bag. And I mean, especially if you have really little kids, like the size is great. They could cut them up. But they're already cooked, and I just throw them in a pan. And while my eggs are cooking or the sourdough's in the toaster, like I just heat them up.
Boom, boom, boom. Easy peasy.
Boom, boom. Mm-hmm. Don't have to complicate it. But shall we get into speaking of the meat, in the meat of our episode?
Of course. I was like, let's try to do it in under an hour tonight, and it's already 20 minutes in.
We can still breeze through.
Let's
1.5.
We can do it.
Speed.
Let's go.
So why are we doing this episode?
Why this episode?
I was kind of inspired by some past clients who I've been chatting with in the DMs. I always love hearing from them personally. Like, we may have worked together like 3-4 years ago, but there are so many that I still keep in touch with. Like, they send me what's going on with like big life milestones, what their chickens are noshing on in their backyard, just like all that fun stuff. And many of them I have worked with again through different seasons. But then there are some who they did root cause reset when it was my one-on-one offer, like before the course, which is like 5 years ago.
It has to be
2019. Oh yeah, it was 2019 before
I was gonna say, Minnie was
traveling.
Minnie was little.
Yes, isn't it funny the milestones we think of? So we worked together like 5 years ago, and some of them are reaching out now. Like, I've been going through RCR, some of the principles that I learned in there, and those are great, but maybe a lot of other things have changed for them in their life. So yes, they have great foundations to start from, or I'm sure you can relate to a lot of athletes who went through STHH. Maybe they even worked with you one-on-one when you used to do one-on-one coaching.
Wow, a lifetime ago.
With athletes. Yeah, and so those are so many great foundations. And they are also noticing that through all of those life transitions since we last worked together, that some new things are popping up symptomatically, and they're not sure if they need help, or do they just need to double down on these things because Diane and Adina talk about foundations. So we want to talk about that. Do you need to rinse and repeat, or is it time for you to get a bit of a tune-up, or enroll in an STHH postpartum, or in the club, or do an HTMA review with me, or work one-on-one? So we're going to talk about how to navigate that and some signs that it's time to ask for help.
That's a difficult thing to admit, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, do I need help? Or do I want to like spend hours researching this thing?
It sounds fun.
Or do I want someone to tell me what to do?
We can watch as many videos as we want.
I mean, we come up against this with our health, with business. I'm sure you have also you've sought ongoing coaching to hone your craft of strength training and different certifications. But in like business, I'll think, yeah, I know some of these things that my coach ends up telling me to do, but having someone hold me accountable to my goals, to my vision, to my higher self, if you want to get extra woo with it, has been great. Like anytime I work with a coach or do a done for you offer, I make such big leaps and shortcuts. Whereas if I'm just trying to hold myself accountable or go through the motions, like that just takes a lot longer. So
a lot of energy too.
That. Yeah. It's a lot of paralysis analysis. Analysis paralysis.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned like my one-on-one program, because actually a couple of random clients from a long time ago have recently come out of the woodwork who like worked with me in like Strong for Life or Strong Foundations, like programs that I have not offered in years. And it was so funny.
Literally years.
And it was so funny to see their names come up. I was so excited, which is exactly what we've been talking about here. Is just like those programs are so great and they laid wonderful foundations. And also, if you were in one of those programs like 5 years ago and haven't refreshed on those basics, like everything we've done has gotten updates since then. If you listen to our episode, what episode was that? Things we've changed our minds about, or what was it?
I'm surprised you remember that. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? We did like a 2-part
yes.
episode about things we've changed our minds about. And we always are open and honest on this show about the fact that we are lifelong learners and we are not afraid to update our perspective on something or implement something differently based on new information that we've learned or things that we've seen are working with clients or not working with clients. And I know we joked about
We're
this.
vegetarian now.
Yeah. Could you imagine? Oh my God, I'm hungry just thinking about it.
I'm hangry thinking about it. Sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay.
We're not going vegetarian.
I feel like we've talked about this on an episode before, but I have such a vivid memory of a client who I had done a food sensitivity test with. And I remember speaking to her like 2 years later, and she was like, I still haven't eaten a blueberry. And I was like, what? No, that wasn't what was supposed to happen.
Yes. Yeah, I have some clients too who, when I was doing MRT and GI map, and those were like the main tests years ago before I met some other ones. Yeah, they're like, I just haven't had blueberries. I haven't
had a blueberry since. I'm like, wait, we missed the point here. We missed the point. And this is a great example of like, okay, this is why I love the option for like a retest, retune type situation, because we used to sell just like 3-month packages, right? And you would purchase the 3-month package, and then your 3 months were up, and it was like, okay, great. The stopping point that we're at is where I just live in my health from now on, you know? And it was just one of these things where there would be some clients who we poured everything we could into for 3 months. And then wherever we kind of were in their journey, where the package ended, it was like that's where they were kind of living, you know?
Yeah.
So if you are a person who had that happen, where either you went through a package with one of us and then got to this point in your health and you were like, I've been feeling so much better. And so like, okay, maintenance, just like, let me just keep doing whatever I was doing in week 12 of that program, you know?
Yes.
And it happens on the strength training side of things too, where people will go through SCHH. They'll be feeling so much stronger. They'll be feeling so much better. And then at the time it was a 12-week program, or if you went through it live with me, like week 12, it's like, okay, now what? And you built incredible foundations. You showed up for yourself for 12 weeks. You may have drastically changed your life if you were not moving, if you were eating things that were not agreeing with you, if you didn't know how to chew and how to approach meals, like you didn't know anything about your blood sugar and now you completely understand how to navigate that. Like so many wonderful things could have shifted in your life. But then life keeps going and things change and new stressors come up and new things come up because it's how many years later and we've been on this planet for how many years, and the accumulation of, you know, whatever that stress is. And so sometimes we need to come up with a new approach to keep going and to not get stuck in that like healing purgatory, which we've kind of
a place that no longer fits. Because right, in so many ways the principles we were teaching, like the principles of how to build your plate, or what's a good quality protein to include, learning all the things about that and overhauling your approach to how you buy or think about food and your health, like those are all still valid. And maybe you did a nutritional assessment questionnaire. It's like what people end with inside of my Root Cause Reset course, and one-on-one packages too. They'll end with that. Like things may have shifted, and you like, just like you tune up your car or you check on your health in other ways outside of the work that we do together. I mean, things change, and it's nice to see where maybe new opportunities lie or new gaps exist. I'm thinking of how much our approaches have changed and just evolved over the last few years, and it's significant. Or I actually was looking for something else in my camera roll, and I saw a video that I must have sent you like in 2019 when we were working together one-on-one. Like we're kind of like new pals, and I wanted to get into strength training more, and I found a barbell squat that I sent to you in a video. Ooh, things have changed.
Isn't that so nice to see?
Yes, I was like, oh, little baby lifter, and like the way I was hinging, it was like this weird 3-part movement. But I had to hang out there for a while. But then I'm so glad that I've invested in seeing you for other skills and pushing new edges. So that's been really nice.
I also think that it's almost even having this conversation in this way, it feels like we are talking about coaching in this very one-dimensional way, where it's like, I wanted to accomplish this thing of figuring out how to eat for my situation, or I wanted to accomplish this thing of figuring out how to strength train. When anyone who has been in our containers for any length of time, especially in recent years, I feel like we've evolved so much as coaches, can understand that there's so much more to being in this proximity with us. Like, I think about the women in the club, and I'm like, some of these women who first came to me years ago when they were in chronic pain and were so down on themselves and maybe had struggled with chronic illness for a long time and just felt so broken, and to see the people that they have become, like the women I have watched them become, the mothers I have watched them become, like, being in our worlds is about so much more than just I am eating these things to balance my minerals. Like, I am lifting this thing to be a little bit stronger. Like, yes, it's about that. And it's also about, like, who are you becoming? Who are you spending your time with? I like to think a lot about the space we're creating inside of the club, because I'm sure you've heard me say it on Instagram. Like, my goal for this space is that we are changing fitness for women. Like, that's what we're doing. It's not just we are lifting the silly kettlebells and getting a little bit stronger each week. It's like, no, we are becoming role models for an entire generation of women. We are rewriting the stories we told ourselves as kids. Like, there is an evolution happening in there. And like, if you are kind of just like sitting in your home, like, I'm kind of doing my workouts, like, no.
Yeah, I just want a new workout program. You're like, you'll get that. Yes.
No. And you need to evolve.
We're going bigger.
Yes.
Bigger.
You need to completely turn into a version of yourself that you always wanted to be. Like, this is about something so much more. And
yeah.
Anyways.
I love that you brought that up, because it has been so cool to see. I mean, even if we haven't worked together in another capacity yet, but we've kept in touch personally, or like I'm following along with former clients on Instagram, seeing their families grow, seeing them grow. It's cool to see them go through root cause reset, whether it was when I was doing that one-on-one, we were doing GI map, gut testing, and food sensitivity testing, or they went through the self-paced version that exists now. And maybe they came into that, like, my stomach hurts so bad anytime I eat everything. And like, that was the loudest. That's something we worked on. Or maybe they were completely new to eating real food, or including protein for the first time, animal protein for the first time after years. Like, I had they describe themselves as recovering vegetarians. I've had many of those go through. So they overhauled their life in a different way then, or were trying to work on a really like chronic or acute like gut issue. And now I see them and they're like, yeah, I'm learning about minerals, or I'm feeling really good about the way that my cycle is going, but I have some tweaks I want to make. Like, seeing them go deeper, but also like just change the way they think about health beyond like, how can I nutrition better or more healthfully? So that's really been really cool to see, and to support clients through different seasons of life has just been awesome. So now let's chat a little bit more about what your current situation might look like. So say you are someone who went through STHH, Strong for Life, my root cause reset course, or my root cause reset one-on-one, former one-on-one version. So maybe we worked together a few years ago, or even a year ago, but since then, your situation now looks like you had another baby, or you're gearing up to try to catch a baby, hopefully in the next 3 to 6 months. So that's a different goal for you than you had a few years ago. Maybe you moved, or you had a big breakup, or got married, or started a new job. Some of my clients I've stayed in touch with have done all of those things in the span of a year, or in a span of a couple years. Like, those are huge life changes. So maybe you also were sick for an extended period of time, for a few weeks, or had a major surgery. So these are all big changes that you've navigated, and that are maybe taking a toll on your body and showing up in physical ways.
Maybe you didn't have like a specific life event that happened to you, but you've just like been on this planet for the last few years, and like you lived through a pandemic, you lived through school shutdowns, you were living through wacky political times, and like
wacky.
And
she's so glad that you're not here for like the thick of this election season.
But and so maybe it wasn't, you didn't picture it as like, I had this big surgery or I had this big breakup. Like you didn't think of it as this thing that happened to you, but you're feeling run down and you're just like not sure why. And there's just this stress accumulation of living on planet Earth. Or perhaps it's like something more in your physical body, like Diane was saying, like maybe you did STHH a few years ago, and since then you've been dealing with an injury or some pain that arose that you arose?
My pain is arousing.
What is that word? Oh no, it's getting late.
New pain.
The pain
has popped up.
The pain is now here.
There you go. Go with that.
She's doing it. And that doesn't feel good. And you're like, well, now I don't really know how to train because that wasn't present in my life when I first did this program. Or I was dealing with XYZ pain and now I'm dealing with ABC pain. And so I'm kind of at this standstill again. Maybe you had a baby or are currently pregnant and you just can't quite figure it out. Or maybe you're having trouble getting consistent. Like you went through STHH, maybe you did it live with coaching and you were like, look at me go. I showed up twice a week for 12 straight weeks. Like I'm amazing. I'm a new person. And then the program ended and you didn't quite have a plan in place for how to keep that up. Or maybe it lasted for a little bit and then all of a sudden life happened and it wasn't enough of a habit for you and other things kind of took priority. And so there you are, just kind of stuck, not being consistent with your workouts, not feeling as strong and capable in your body as you want to be while you are busy taking care of 1,000 other things in your life or in your family. And suddenly your strength and health is a little bit in the back seat.
Yeah, totally. And I've definitely thought of some clients who have reached out and maybe went through group live versions of Root Cause Reset, and they know that for them, they thrive when they had that support, the community or the accountability, and had me there that they could ask me questions. And they kind of went on autopilot for a little bit, or they were going through their maintenance plan on their own, but many things have changed for them in their family, in their own health, and the stress load that they carry day to day. And knowing themselves, they're like, oh, I'm thinking about coaching, but should I just go back and double down on this plan that Diane gave me for maintenance or whatnot? But if it keeps coming up, or you know that you've been struggling for a little bit, that could be a sign that it is time for a tune-up in some capacity. And we'll talk about different ways that we could do that. But basically the common thread here is big changes, new symptoms, new life situations arise that affect your quality of life. And so maybe it is time to think about a tune-up.
And I want to say, it's not like, oh no, like I'm no longer consistent with my workouts, or I'm not figuring out like I'm just not feeling good, even though I'm like kind of sort of still eating the way I was when I finished working with Diane. Like this, it doesn't mean that you are a bad person or that you are bad at taking care of your health or that you are off the wagon. Like,
right.
I did that in air quotes for those who are not watching on YouTube. I think the general diet culture and fitness culture that we grew up with was such that if you weren't doing the diet or doing the fitnessing, it was like you are not a person who does the fitness, or you are off the wagon. You're not,
bad.
You're so bad.
So naughty.
But I want to just remind you that we know you. You care so deeply about your health. You would not be listening to this podcast if you didn't. we know that you are doing it all for everyone else. You are running the show in your house. You are deeply nourishing your children. You are caring so deeply for everyone around you. You are working your little butt off, whether that's caring for your homestead or doing your homeschooling or doing your job or doing your crafts. Like you you are passionate, you care about yourself, you care about the people around you. You are consistent as hell. Like even if you're a person right now who's like, oh, they're right, I haven't been consistent with my workout since SCHH, but like you've been feeding your children 3 meals a day, probably nourishing meals every day.
I see you ordering your supplements in my dispensary. Like I see like people still taking a stack, and that takes like mental bandwidth to remember to take all the things, all the tinctures or what have you. But maybe you're taking something from 3 years ago and you might not need it, or you might need something else by now. Like you're not afraid to invest time and energy into yourself and resources too. So this person they're not lazy. They've invested in themselves. They've invested in coaches before. And they're also someone who prides themselves on being a problem solver or self-starter. I think that we would agree that that's a trait that we see in a lot of our clients. Like they're goal getters. They figure things out on their own, certainly, but maybe sometimes so much so that they can get stuck or get stuck in the spiral of like Googling what to do next because they think that they need to figure this out on their own too.
Right, exactly. Like I think it's, if you know you are this person, like you are wildly consistent, you care about your health, you're not afraid to invest and care for yourself and your family. It's just a matter of understanding that like we can help you find those little gaps. We can help you make that little priority shift to structure your day and your life in a way where your kids aren't the only ones getting those nourishing, balanced plates. And your kids aren't the only ones getting that outdoor movement and that sunshine. And so it's just as simple as showing up with those qualities, showing up ready to do the work and commit to yourself, and then putting your trust into someone that has done the heavy lifting for you, and not actually you have to do the heavy lifting when you come into my world.
At least with strength training.
Yes,
I'll do the heavy lifting with the strategy and the plan building in your HTMA review.
You just have to lift a kettlebell. Who has simplified this thing and who has created this roadmap for you so that you, this wonderful, amazing, committed person that you are, you just show up and you just do the dang work, and then you feel a million times better. Like, how lovely does that sound?
Yes. Yeah, we got the blueprint for you. So in this next section, might be calling you out a little bit, but in order to call you in, and maybe you're going to hear yourself in some of these, and that can help you decide if like now is the time to seek extra support. And I also like to preface this section with, of course, if you have basic needs for like pay your bills first, like your basic needs before hiring a coach. Like I don't want anyone ever making like an irresponsible financial decision if they can't do coaching yet. But
wait, I want to hang out there for a second because I think that some people need to hear that. Like if you heard the beginning of this episode and you were like, oh wait, that's me, I'm gonna like take out a new credit card and it'll be fine. Like it does not do any of us a service.
No.
If that is how you show up to this space. Like, I love you for being scrappy and for being like, I'm all in, let's go no matter what. But we're talking about your health here. And as you've heard us talk many times on this show before, stress is a massive piece of this picture. So
yes,
if it is going to spiral you into a stressful situation, that is not a time that we want to work with you. You know?
No.
We love you so much. But that's not a good way to go into this. Right.
And I have had, and I thank them for sharing honestly, like where they're at, maybe objections. If we're chatting through the DMs, like someone was asking me which course or coaching offer would be the best fit for her right now. And she was like, honestly though, like I've had a lot of changes. My husband had a job change. And so I don't know if I can do this right now or it's going to be a stretch. And I was like, well, then don't. Like, then I would suggest, following along here, iterating on some of the things we talked about, but then later, like, where to find me. I just want to make sure that someone doesn't come into coaching worried about, am I going to be able to order supplements or make the most out of this investment, or am I going to be so stressed constantly? So, make a smart decision based on your unique budget for sure. So always like to share that. We never are going to be the coaches that are like, well, if this was important to you, you'd invest. Like,
no.
No bro marketing here.
No.
That's not the style.
You know where to find us when you're ready. Like, we'll be right here. Yeah. Don't worry.
I feel like that's more prevalent in the business and like marketing coaching space.
Yeah.
But in the health too, it just feels so icky. Yucky. But anyway, so some things that said, some things that perhaps you may be telling yourself is, well, I have that plan that Diane gave me from 3 years ago. And I guess we already talked about this one, but I want to drive it home because I will hear from some people. They're like, well, I think I'm just going to go back to the plan and RCR or the basics there. Yes. And if you are thinking that and you have had 2 babies, you're recently postpartum, you are waking up in the middle of the night, your cycle's a mess, or you're just generally feeling malaise or feeling awful, maybe we have some other digging that we can do and some small tweaks to your routine that could really maximize the way that you feel, make you feel a lot better. So that might benefit from a tune-up. And remember too that the way that we coach, Adina and I coach, and the tools, the further education that we've done in the last few years have evolved how we work with clients and have really expanded what we're able to offer to clients too.
Yeah, that's a funny one too on that front. I think, so I used to sell STHH with like an accompanying PDF, and that PDF has not gotten an update in however many years, even though the program has. Like, we updated the program. When did we build STHH 2.0? I think that was last summer. Yeah, that sounds right. Last year, we refreshed STHH 2.0, and it incorporated a lot of things that we learned from running this program for how many years, and, new movement prep that we found to be really activating for certain lifts, and just things that we've learned and ways that we've gotten better as coaches and seen better results with our clients and the pacing and all that stuff. And we put the program onto our training app, and people could pay $50 to upgrade for lifetime access to the new version of the program in the app. And I had a bunch of people reach out to me because I was talking about it a lot. And so they remembered, like, oh, I have this program that I haven't done in how many years? Like, let me go back to it. And so they were asking about the PDF. And to me, it was like, pay the $50 and get the new version of this program, because you will be so much happier to go through the program in its current version than
with video.
Yes. And the PDF had clickable videos, but obviously a PDF is not the same as going through a training app. But it was just funny to me that, like, to me, it is such a no-brainer. Like, this is such an easier delivery method, which we talk about all the time, of like, who cares if you have a PDF if you're never going to click through the PDF to do your workout, Right. It's like silly. But the program reflects how much better we've gotten as coaches in those years. And so anyways, if you're listening to this and you did STHH and have a PDF that you're not touching, like, trust me when I say that $50 will be the best $50 you ever spend.
I still have some old recordings in Root Cause Reset, and the material in there is still great. I still stand by it. But I think of, like, with one-on-one, several years ago, GI map was the main, but the resulting protocols and, like, one-on-one with that, they can just be more intense, and benefit from more one-to-one high-touch coaching, just because of the nature of gut eradication, parasite chasing, right? Yeah. But now things are a lot different. Maybe the starting point that I might suggest to a client is different. So yeah, lots has changed. And this next one, may sound familiar to you, is I know, insert X, I know that thing already. I know what to do. And know that knowing something is not the same as living it. So maybe you learned about digestion, how to get a really juicy gut function going and flowing, but you still are someone who's bloated all the time. Certain things send you urgently to the bathroom, or you're having some things pop up that you haven't dealt with in a while, and you're not really sure what to do with you're like, I think I know what to do, but it's still a nagging symptom, then maybe it's time to check in with a coach to see what might be missing.
Yeah, we've said this many times on this show before, but if your life don't show it, you don't know it.
Yes. Yeah, I remember there was someone who attended I had a workshop last summer, and they're like, oh, I already know this. But my main concerns, are we going to talk about, my main concerns is I'm waking up in the middle of the night, my digestion's a mess, and you've talked about some things on day one, and I already know them. And I was like, well, do we? Because we're going to go a little deeper. So I think we have to talk a little bit about setting aside ego or like the research that we've done, and remind ourselves that coaches can help you bring nuance to this and help you customize something for your situation and show you how to not only know it, but for things for your body to show it, for you to actually get that digestion juicy, how to get that blood sugar managed, your cycle balanced, and so on.
Yes. And we touched on this a little earlier when you mentioned that one of the big qualities we see in a lot of our clients is that the pride in the DIY, the pride in and I think for so many of us, this came from like we were in a doctor's office. We didn't like the way we felt. We were like, wait, this can't be the answer. Like, it can't, what they're saying cannot be it. Like, birth control cannot be the only option, or, XYZ thing that you were told by a provider. And so you took to the internets, and you took to the books, and you took to the podcasts, and you were like a little research rodent, just like going after it and figuring it all out and piecing it together. And then maybe at that moment in time, that DIY was like exactly what unlocked this whole world of, wait a minute, there is health on the other side of this thing, and I don't have to just be put in this box or talked down to and, given this information that doesn't actually apply to me. And so you took pride in this alt DIY like personality, and so now you're kind of stuck with this, oh, well, I'll just figure it out on my own, like I did last time, the same way I figured out on my own that I didn't need hormonal birth control. I will just figure out on my own why I'm constantly having diarrhea, or why my knee hurts all the time, or why my back hurts all the time, or, whatever.
Yeah, or why my cycle sucks. Yes, and so on. But truly, coaches are going to save you energy, money, and time. Like the other things I can get more of, and I always bring up the business coaching example, but this also works with health coaching too, is I could figure things out on my own. I know I've done a lot of DIY, and it brought me to becoming a nutritional therapist. I did a lot on my own, but then I thought, like, I want to share this with more women, because I don't want them to have to go through all the trials and tribulations of Prilosec and months of antibiotics and taking the pill to quote unquote regulate my period, when there is an easier way. And that's one reason I'm so passionate about what I'm doing, is I want you to have the closest thing to a shortcut. And when I've worked with a business coach, like, there are some things that like I might have known or read in a book, a marketing book about launching or whatever on the internet. But when I have a coach or I have a plan that's customized to me, to my health, to my business, I save so much time and energy and headache. Like, I can go and make more money, but I can't get more time back. And I know that I have wasted over the years plenty of it on
Google.
On Google, or did I need this supplement, and taking time with that supplement and doing this Pilates or whatever to snatch this waste, whatever. When I could have just had someone tell me what to do, then I could have used that time to sew more, to read 60 books a year.
You could be quilting your grandchildren by now.
I know. I'd be quilting for my grandkids. I actually have a couple of baby quilts in I could have started on these other projects sooner, or just had more time to relax and enjoy my time with loved ones, with friends, instead of like, oh, what do I need to do to feel better? Like, there's just so many other ways I want to spend my time now.
Yeah. And also, like, we got to all be honest with ourselves about how there is just a different way that we show up for ourselves when we make an investment. Like, you are making that investment in yourself. So if you are a person who cannot get consistent with the thing, and whether that is training, whether that is really being on it with your nutrition or what you need to do to get you feeling better, like deep down, you probably know that when you make an investment, you show up big for yourself.
Yes. Every time. Every time. And also Doug sounds like he's like swallowing himself. What are you doing? Doug, excuse me. That might be on the audio. I say this every time.
Yeah, I haven't heard it.
I should have left him outside.
Yeah.
That's good. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but another thing we hear often, I don't know if you hear this on the training side, but sometimes people hesitate to invest in a coach, or like they might be connecting and vibing with me on Instagram or through the podcast, but they're like, well, maybe I'll see if I can get this covered by insurance. And unfortunately, the way that our system is set up here, the best providers, in my experience, the best providers are not covered by insurance, whether that is physical therapist, a fitness coach, nutrition support, health coaching, I mean, the midwife that I'm working with. And I understand and I want to respect that, like a lot of times just based on budget and finances, people have to go within the system that they are a part of, like their health insurance through work. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that sometimes people can use HSA or FSA towards the programs that I do. I've definitely had clients who are able to have their tests or supplements or part of our work together covered, but that's on them to check with that plan. But if you are able to otherwise, invest in your health, remember that it's your wealth. And I don't think I've ever had a client who's regretted. I know I haven't regretted investing in care that I really found value in or felt supported by. So you might have to look outside of the traditional means, especially if you're someone who's like gone through the traditional means of the healthcare system before and it has done you dirty. Yeah. And you're like, well, fuck it. If I know that I really resonate with this provider, this coach, this nutritional therapist over that person that spends 5 to 10 minutes with me and tells me to just stress less and lose weight, like that's worth something. Yeah. That's worth the peace of mind.
Totally. And then this one comes up a lot, obviously, especially in the busier seasons, which, let's be real, life is just one long busy season. So the old, I don't have time right now. If you're a person telling yourself, I don't have the time right now because the kids are going back to school, and then it's the Jewish holidays, and then it's Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, like whatever the list of reasons that you're coming up with for why this is bad timing, we all know deep down inside that when we feel our best physically, when we feel strong, when we are effortlessly digesting our food, when we have easy, pain-free periods, it majorly expands your capacity. And suddenly, the time that you felt like you didn't have, you are swimming in. And obviously, I don't want to be unrealistic about that. You're not swimming in time, but it's like, oh, suddenly I feel like I have the time and the capacity for the workouts. Suddenly, I have the time and capacity to do the home cooked food, even if it's the pre-made sausages and burgers. And, like your time becomes your own when you physically feel good inside of your body. And if you have had a season where you felt like you were just dragging in your body, it did not feel good to live in there. If you are dealing with that right now, our hearts are so big for you. It just everything feels impossible. Like you feel
like you're wading through mud.
Yeah. Like of course your days feel like they are just running away from you and like you don't have time for this right now. But showing up for yourself in that way and just jumping in, making the investment, putting your trust in us and your trust in yourself. It is just, these are my favorite clients, like to watch their whole world open up and just the life come back into them. It's like, that is just, woof. It's good stuff.
Yes. This reminds me of a thread, and I want to also, I'm not going to say her name, but I'll congratulate. She knows who she is. She just got married this past weekend, and so I hope she had the best wedding weekend ever. But we worked together. She did Root Cause Reset when I did a live cohort of that last year. Oh my gosh, it might have been the year before. Anyway, she went through that, and she DM'd me. We were just catching up, and I said, so how have you been feeling? And she's like, Diane, I feel so good. Like, I'm about to, she sent me this audio DM and made me cry. She said I could share this too. She said that she feels so good, and that she was so glad that she did that, like going into planning her wedding, which objectively you could be like, oh, it's not the right time because you're planning a wedding. I think she had just moved or started a new job, maybe both of those things. And she's like, instead of going through this wedding planning, like, I need to get snatched for this dress or lose weight, all the stupid diet culture stuff that surrounds like mainstream wedding planning in general. She's like, I feel so good. I'm telling friends about this, and like, I know what I need to do in order to feel good for this really exciting milestone. So we were just connecting about that, and like, I was so happy for her that, like, yes, a lot of the basics we covered, rinse and repeat, are good, but she, asked for help in a season when a lot of people might say, no, I'll wait until after the dust settles. There's always something that's going to be vying for your attention, like you're saying, like holiday or some other life change that pops up. But when you're stressed is when you'd value or you would benefit from coaching or support the most. And that said, I mean, we're talking about stress. Like, if you have a lot of stress going on and a lot of emotional things, like, yes, I'm a nutritional therapist, but I'm also not a therapist.
Yeah, know yourself.
So, know yourself. I mean, my clients understand this boundary, and sometimes context is helpful. Like, I want to know if they had a bad day, or if, I'm going through a breakup, or really taking something hard personally in my life. Like, that is helpful to know, because it will impact you physically. Like, maybe your reflux starts flaring, or you're waking up in the middle of the night, or you had really bad PMS because of those things. But I'm always going to know my scope and encourage folks that if their mental, emotional stress load is high, great spot for therapy, for counseling. But we can help as your coaches in lowering that physical burden. And I always appreciate, like we said in last episode, yes, I had this bad day, but here's also what I'm doing to solve it. So yeah. I love our goal getter clients who are action oriented, and they are honest about where they are emotionally, but they're also not using it as, well, yeah, I had this bad day, and so now I had the takeout, and then I skipped my workouts for 2 weeks. Like, yes. Not that energy.
I think it's funny. I say this in the SDHH onboarding is like, just don't be a bummer. Don't be a bummer. But what we mean by that is like, what we mean by that is that if you heard, oh, if I am stressed and my capacity feels incredibly low, and then I hire Adina and or Diane, I'll feel better. It's not like hiring us solves all your problems. Like, you still have to show up and do the work. You have to know yourself, and you have to know. It's like, if you are hearing, yes, I am that person who is consistent, who cares deeply about my health, and I'm just right now in this season where I have these gaps and I can't quite figure this out on my own, but I know the second that I put my trust and my investment here, I know that Adina and or Diane are the person that is going to help me rise and be the version of myself that I want to be. Yes, you come on down. It's going to be wonderful. But if you're hearing this and thinking, fix me, like, you fix me, like, it doesn't work like that.
You better fix me. Yeah. But that's usually used in the context of like buying yourself a little treat or something. Yeah. Like,
it doesn't work like that.
Wouldn't that be nice? So to close out this episode, let's round out with like what you need to do to close those gaps. And I don't think anyone's going to be surprised that it's coaching or hiring someone to come up with a done-for-you plan, or finally taking a leap and doing that course. If that's the kind of accountability you need, is like skin in the game, buying a course, buying a strategy, then DIYing that. So let's talk a little bit about, I guess, ways to work with us. End of August, and I'm planning on closing coaching done-for-you offers in October-ish. So get in while you fit in, basically. But then I will be on mat leave, and we'll talk about in other episodes what working together can look like. But right now, the options for working together HTMA review. That's the hair tissue mineral analysis. That's the done for you option. This is going to be the best fit for someone who maybe did root cause reset. We've worked together in the past, or just someone who is a goal getter, self-starter, and they would just really want things to be pared down and clear for them that they can iterate on their own. So HTMA review, you do a little tiny haircut. I review your results personally and I explain what's going on, connect it actually to your situation instead of like, everything's fine. And you're like, what? Well, what does this even mean? I hate that. I hate when you get lab results and you're like, what does that even mean? It's all gibberish. And then I make a clear plan for you that talks about food, lifestyle, supplement stuff. So it's more customized, but it's still something that you're going to DIY in a way. So that's HTMA review, and it really shows you where you can get the most out of the least in your routine. So that's been the feedback from clients who have loved that container. And maybe you don't need to keep taking that prenatal and that gut support that you started 2 years ago, or whatever supplement stack you put together. So some people have really found value in that bit alone, is the audit. And then another option, I might have a couple of spaces open if it's the right fit for people to do month of one-on-one coaching, but we're coming up on September. So the time frame is quickly closing, but we could either add that on to HTMA review, or we could just do month of one-on-one even without testing. I know I've had some clients who have enjoyed that this summer, or I'm thinking of a couple clients who went through postpartum or end of their pregnancy and they're like, I just want support. I need a hype woman and like real actionable strategies on the fly. That's where month of coaching is great, because you can walkie-talkie or audio me with the app that we use for that. It's very casual, and I know clients really like that, especially if they can't go to an office or don't want to commute to an office. It's great to be able to get support wherever you are. So HTMA review, month of coaching, I have a couple spots left. And then if you are someone who's kind of just new to this, but you're just really not sure where to start, or maybe you're dealing with more digestion stuff, then Root Cause Reset, the self-paced course, would be for you. So those are the few options, and I'll put details for you in the show notes.
Yes, meows.
Yeah, and if you're not sure too, my DMs are always open, or you can email me if you're like not sure where to start, but it really depends on the level of support you desire and your style. So you can always feel free to reach out and ask me, like, here's what I'm dealing with briefly, like here's what I've tried, and I can make a recommendation, no pressure, as far as like where would be a best place to start for you.
Yeah, I love what you said about the level of support that you're looking for, because we've definitely talked about this on previous episodes, but I think that something that we all need to do is be honest about the type of accountability that we ourselves need. Like, yes. I mentioned a few times throughout this episode, like if you're a person who you did so great in SCHH plus coaching and you showed up for yourself for 12 straight weeks and then you couldn't figure out how to be consistent on your own, don't make yourself wrong for it and be like, uh-oh, I guess I'm no longer a person who trains. Like, no, sweetie, you just are telling yourself loud and clear, I need something to show up to. I need something that is constantly asking me to be there in order to show up in that way for myself. And that's totally fine. Yeah. We all have different types of accountability that we need. And also that's going to look different in different seasons. Like I've shared on this podcast before that when I was doing my RKC2, like a level 2 kettlebell certification, and I needed to do a strict bodyweight pull-up for it, but the RKC was falling out when I was 12 weeks pregnant with Ori.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I would schlep all the way into the city from Jersey in traffic. First of all, got to hang out with Coach Veronica, so that was really fun. But we both went to this pull-up club because I knew that in my first trimester, I was not going to be training pull-ups on my own. I just wasn't going to do it. I
remember that.
Yeah, I was going
pull-up club days.
So fun. And I learned so much from the coach there. And it made me show up for myself for those 12 weeks when, like, if you've been in a first trimester, you know it's really freaking hard to train. Sometimes it is just really hard. And so if you're in a season or you are just noticing about yourself that, woof, turns out I'm having a really hard time showing up for myself without that accountability. Like maybe you need to join the club. Maybe you need to upgrade
live calls.
Yes, maybe you need to upgrade to live calls so that at least 3 times a month, you know, I'm going to be on live at this call. Or I'm just going to see the people in the club all sharing in the accountability space that they're getting their workout done. And I'm going to be like, hey, I can do this too. Because I know that happens to me, honestly. Like when things get really busy here and we're busy with work and I'm momming hard in the summer, like if I was not showing up for these women in this community, it would be harder for me to show up for myself. Like that is such a wonderful built-in thing that is happening because I get to run this community. But I think I just want you guys to realize that we are not meant to do it all alone. Like if you are already doing the thing where you are running the household and you are doing your job or you are tending to your garden, like something's got to give, you know? And so if you want to have this thing be the priority, because that's all it is, it's about restructuring your priorities. And so sometimes you need to just put the investment in place, grab the people to support you and hype the heck out of you, create the community, become a part of the thing, to recognize that sometimes you need a little bit of help to help
from your friends.
Yeah, sometimes you need a little help.
I'm thinking of who's singing that song? Sometimes you need help. The Beatles. Yeah, we'll get you high. Yeah. We'll raise you to the higher version of yourself, or cheer you on to that higher version of yourself. I mean, yes, you can do it all, but do you want to? I mean, think about, like, unrelated, but it's very real in our life right now. We just had plumbers fix some DIY work that some clown contractors did for us.
No.
Because I was like, oh, I'm going to cheap out. And like, I mean, it was the panini, the thick of the panini. So we tried to take what we can get, but also a friend was like, they're inexpensive up front. And
that's the red flag, you know?
That was the red flag. And I did it. And then things leaked. And Neil saw what was happening inside this thing. I was like, I could have done this myself. Yeah. Would have taken hours and headaches. But we just paid a premium for someone to fix some other mistakes. Like I could have done this by myself, but no. We'll have the experts just come in and
it's nice. Sometimes that's nice. Just get them sorted out.
Let us fix your plumbing.
Yeah,
for you.
We'll do that. Diane will fix your plumbing right up. Yeah. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I think what we all need to recognize is that we don't have to do it all alone. There's wonderful support out there to help us be the very best version of ourselves. And I think with the theme of this episode of like, I did this thing 2 years ago, and so I never have to do it again, we need to remember that life be lifin', and the starting line keeps moving, the finish line keeps moving. It is so wonderful to have people that you trust, that you know love you and want the very best for you, to guide you as the seasons shift, as the seasons of life shift, so that you can be feeling your very best no matter what is going on.
Yes, I know that's right. So visit the show notes, reach out if you have questions or would like to chat through about best fit for you. But
don't email
no matter
me.
what you choose.
What's email? Like,
yeah, Adina especially is not in her inbox. You're in your DMs.
I just got a notification from Gmail that like my inbox is exploding and I'm not going to be able to receive emails anymore.
I almost sent you a meme and it was like a screenshot of the icon of the mail app and it said 100,000 and it was like, thanks everyone for helping me get to 100,000. It wouldn't have been possible.
Should I check
without you?
I'm going to check live what the number is right now. You guys,
I have 5,000 emails in my personal, and
you guys are seeing this live. Oop, it's really bad.
Is it higher than 5,000?
35,000.
35,000? It's mostly junk.
Let me tell you something. Every so often I just set fire to my inbox, but I am nervous because I feel like there were seasons this year where like I really would like during like especially when the war started, I was not on it with my inbox at all. And so I'm sure there's important things buried in there. So I like really can't set fire to it. But like if you the point is if you've emailed
there could be a Nigerian prince in there trying to give you thousands upon thousands of dollars.
To sum up, if you've emailed me and you've been like, this bitch never wrote me back, please email me again.
Bump it
or
up.
DM me. Like, just DM me. That's better.
Sounds like DMs are your preference. Someone did bump something up because sometimes I just don't see them. I check my support email.
The problem with DMs is that sometimes Instagram just decides to not show you half of them. So like,
yes, my message requests suddenly a bunch showed up, and we're not trying to ignore you. We're really not. So if you like, I mean,
I guess
if you DM me like in the
go ahead.
all these rules are going, they're going to be like, fuck it, I'm not DMing those bitches at all.
X.
But if you DM me like on a weekend and like you're bumping me at like 10 p.m. girl, I am not working. I might be showing something I'm watching, but I'm not working. Yeah, or Instagram, like if someone reacts with an emoji to your story, that acts as a new DM, so things can get lost. But yeah, I mean, basically what I'm trying to say is happy to chat with you.
We love you
if you have questions, and that we love you and we're rooting for you no matter what you choose. So
however you reach out to us, we love you. Even if you email me. Stay hydrated.
Yes. And I'm gonna go have a snack. It's that time.
Unclench your beehole. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the GYST podcast. As always, your ratings and reviews mean the world to us.
If you enjoyed this episode, take a second, take a little screenshot, throw it up on your Instagram story, and tag us so we can thank you properly for sharing this show with other women that it might help.
See you next week. We love you. Bye.